Hey everyone, ready for another deep dive? Today we're cracking open a book that I think will resonate with a lot of you.
Oh, yeah. This one's a good one.
It's called Orçamento Pessoal, Domine Suas Finanças.
Catchy title, right?
Well, the translation is a bit less catchy, personal budget, master your finances.
There we go.
But catchy or not, the content is gold, and that's why we're diving deep. We're talking all things budgeting, turning it from something we dread into something that actually helps us get closer to living the life we want.
And that's what I love about this book. It's not just about the nuts and bolts of budgeting. It's
Right.
really about the mindset behind it, the psychology of how we think about money. It's about making your money work for you.
Absolutely. And the book jumps right into this big myth, this idea that budgeting means depriving yourself.
Oh, yeah, like you have to give up everything fun to be good with money.
Exactly. But this book debunks that myth right away.
Yeah.
It emphasizes that budgeting is actually about gaining more freedom.
Like financial freedom.
Yeah. It's about making conscious choices about where your money goes so you can reach your goals.
Think of it like this. Instead of feeling restricted by a budget, you're actually empowered by it.
Oh, I like that.
It's like having a roadmap that helps you reach your desired financial destination.
A roadmap to financial freedom. I love that analogy. Okay, so now that we've busted that budgeting myth, let's talk about the practical side of things.
All right, let's get into it.
Chapter 2 dives right into creating a budget. And the first step is honesty.
Yes, being totally honest with yourself about where your money is actually going.
No more hiding those impulse buys.
Exactly. It's like a financial checkup. You got to lay it all out on the table,
Yep.
income, expenses, the whole shebang.
So basically, no more pretending those late-night online shopping sprees never happen.
Nope. Got to own it all. But, speaking of tracking expenses, I remember this one budgeting app I tried.
Oh, yeah.
It had like a million categories. I was so overwhelmed. I spent more time categorizing than actually understanding my spending.
Oh, I totally get that. And the book actually talks about this, right? Keeping things simple.
Absolutely. Simplicity is key when it comes to budgeting. Too many categories can lead to what the book calls analysis paralysis.
Analysis paralysis.
Yeah, you get so bogged down in the details that you lose sight of the big picture.
Right.
And then what happens?
You give up.
Exactly. So it's about finding that sweet spot, being detailed enough to get a clear picture of your spending, but not so detailed that it becomes overwhelming.
Okay. That makes sense.
Right.
But how do we avoid those sneaky miscellaneous expenses? You know, the ones that always seem to throw off the budget.
Ah, yes, the dreaded miscellaneous category. Well, the book has a really interesting solution for that. Descriptive categorization.
Descriptive categorization. Tell me more.
It's so simple but brilliant. Instead of lumping everything into a vague miscellaneous category, get specific.
Okay.
So instead of just entertainment, you might have movies, dining out, concerts. You get the idea.
So basically, you're breaking down your spending into clearer, more descriptive categories.
Precisely. And you know what? That actually reminds me of a funny story. When I first started budgeting, I had this category called fun money.
Fun money. I like the sound of that.
Yeah, it sounded good in theory, but looking back, most of it was spent on impulse purchases at the grocery store checkout. You know those magazines and candy bars strategically placed at eye level?
Oh, yeah. Those are dangerous.
Tell me about it. I mean, I thought I was being all responsible with my fun money, but really I was just falling prey to marketing tactics.
So basically, descriptive categorization helps shine a light on those sneaky spending patterns.
It's like a spotlight illuminating those hidden areas where our money might be slipping away.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're being honest with ourselves about our spending, keeping things simple with our categories, and getting super specific to avoid those miscellaneous traps. What's next on this budgeting journey?
Well, according to the book, the next step is to create a visual representation of your finances.
Visual representation. You mean like a graph or something?
It could be a graph, but more often it's a budget worksheet.
A budget worksheet. So like a spreadsheet.
Exactly. Or even just a simple table. The point is to have a clear visual overview of your income and expenses.
So you can see where your money is going at a glance.
Exactly. And this ties into another important concept the book emphasizes, prorating annual expenses.
Prorating. Remind me what that means again?
It means dividing those larger annual expenses like property taxes or car insurance into smaller monthly payments.
Oh, right.
So instead of getting hit with a big bill once a year, you incorporate those costs into your monthly budget.
Okay, that makes sense. But, sometimes life throws curveballs and we need a bit of flexibility in our budget.
Absolutely. The book acknowledges that. It's not about being rigid and inflexible. It's about finding a system that works with your life, not against it.
Right.
So, for example, you might have some categories like entertainment where you allow yourself a little more wiggle room.
So it's about striking a balance between structure and flexibility.
Exactly. You want a budget that provides a framework for your spending, but also allows for those spontaneous moments or unexpected expenses that inevitably pop up.
Speaking of unexpected expenses, let's talk about the big one, the one that I think we all struggle with from time to time, overspending.
Ah, yes, the overspending monster. It can be a tough one to tame.
It really can. So how do we do it? How do we get control of our spending without feeling like we're living in a financial straitjacket?
Well, the book suggests a few strategies. One of the most powerful is increasing your awareness of how much you're actually spending.
Okay, how do we do that?
It sounds simple, but you'd be surprised how many people don't actually track their spending in real time, especially when they're using credit cards.
Yeah, it's easy to swipe a card and not really think about the money you're spending.
Exactly.
Right.
That's why the book suggests strategies like keeping a spending journal or using a budgeting app that automatically tracks your transactions.
So it's about holding up a mirror to your spending habits so you can see exactly where your money is going.
It's like shining a spotlight on those hidden patterns and making them visible. And once you see them, you can start to change them.
I like that. So what are some other tips for avoiding those tempting impulse buys?
Well, one of the simplest but most effective strategies is to implement a waiting period before making any non-essential purchases.
A waiting period. So like if I see something I want, I shouldn't buy it right away.
Give yourself at least 24 hours or even a week to think it over. Ask yourself, do I really need this? Does it align with my budget and my financial goals?
So it's about giving your rational mind a chance to catch up with your impulsive heart.
Exactly, because often that initial excitement fades after a day or two, and then you can make a more level-headed decision.
That makes sense. But sometimes it's not even about resisting the urge to buy. Sometimes it's about avoiding those tempting situations altogether.
Oh, absolutely. The book actually suggests that too. Avoiding tempting shopping environments if you know you're prone to impulse purchases.
So like staying away from the mall
Mm.
or unsubscribing from those tempting email newsletters.
Exactly. It's about minimizing those external triggers that can lead to overspending. And speaking of triggers, the book also encourages readers to examine their current spending habits and identify any purchases made purely out of habit.
Out of habit. So like buying a coffee every morning on the way to work.
Yeah, or that subscription box you signed up for months ago and never use. It's about questioning those routine purchases and asking yourself if they're truly adding value to your life or just draining your funds.
That's a great point. It's so easy to fall into those spending traps without even realizing it.
It is. And this whole idea of becoming more mindful of our spending ties into a fascinating experiment the book suggests in chapter 6.
Oh, an experiment. I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
This one might surprise you. It involves using .cash.
Cash. Really? In this day and age of digital payments and contactless transactions?
I know, right? But the book makes a compelling case for using cash as a tool to gain a more tangible understanding of our spending habits.
Okay, I'm listening. Tell me about this cash experiment.
It's pretty simple, actually. The book suggests withdrawing a specific amount of cash, say enough for a week's worth of spending,
Okay.
and then you only use cash for all your purchases during that time. No credit cards, no debit cards, just cold, hard cash.
So it's like a digital detox for your wallet.
Exactly. The idea is that using physical currency makes us more mindful of how much we're spending and on what.
Because you can actually see your money dwindling with each purchase.
Precisely. And that tangible feedback can be incredibly eye-opening. It forces you to think twice before each purchase and make more intentional choices.
I can imagine. It's like the difference between reading about something and actually experiencing it firsthand.
Exactly. And that firsthand experience can be incredibly powerful when it comes to changing our spending habits.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. From the importance of honesty and simplicity in budgeting, to the power of descriptive categorization, and even the surprising benefits of using cash. What are some of the key takeaways you think our listeners should walk away with from this first part of our deep dive?
Well, I think the most important takeaway is that budgeting is not about deprivation. It's about empowerment. It's about making conscious choices that align with your values and ultimately lead to greater financial freedom. And it all starts with those simple steps. Being honest with yourself about your spending, creating a system that's simple and sustainable, and using descriptive categorization to really understand where your money is going.
And we can't forget about those visual aids like the budget worksheets and the pro rating thing.
Oh, yeah. Those are super helpful for getting a clear picture of your finances and making sure you're not caught off guard by those larger expenses.
But you know what? Sometimes life happens and we need to deviate from the plan a little.
Of course, life doesn't always fit neatly into a spreadsheet.
Like you can't always predict when you'll need to replace a flat tire or buy a last-minute birthday gift.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's where that balance between structure and flexibility comes in. The book really emphasizes that.
It's about finding that sweet spot, a budget that provides guidance, but also allows for some wiggle room.
Right, because it's not about being restrictive, it's about being realistic. And that leads us to another important aspect of personal finance, the emotional side of things.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one. A lot of people I know have a lot of anxiety around money.
It's totally understandable. Money is tied to so many emotions, security, freedom, even self-worth.
It can be a really loaded topic, so how can we overcome those negative feelings?
Well, I think the first step is acknowledging them. Don't try to suppress or ignore those feelings.
So it's okay to feel stressed or anxious about money.
It's normal. We all experience those emotions from time to time. The key is to not let them control us. And that's where self-compassion comes in.
Self-compassion? So like being kind to ourselves even when we make financial mistakes.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that we're human, we're not perfect, we're all learning as we go.
I love that. Because it's so easy to get caught up in that cycle of guilt and shame when we overspend or make a financial misstep.
It is, but beating ourselves up doesn't help anyone. It just makes us feel worse and less likely to make positive changes.
So instead of dwelling on the past, we should focus on learning from our mistakes and moving forward.
Precisely. And you know what else can help shift that negative mindset?
Tell me.
Celebrating your successes.
Or successes, like when we manage to stick to our budget for a whole month.
Exactly. Or when you finally pay off that credit card debt or reach a savings goal. Those are huge accomplishments.
That's so easy to focus on the negative, but we need to celebrate those wins too.
They deserve to be recognized, and they can be incredibly motivating, helping us stay on track and reach even bigger goals.
I love that. It's like shifting our perspective from a place of scarcity to one of abundance.
Exactly. And speaking of abundance, that ties into another key theme in the book, long-term planning.
Ah, yes. Thinking beyond just the here and now.
Right. It's about creating a vision for your financial future and then taking steps to make that vision a reality.
So where does budgeting fit into this bigger picture?
It's the foundation. A well-crafted budget is like a blueprint for your financial future. It helps you allocate your resources wisely so you can reach both your short-term and long-term goals.
Okay, so budgeting is like the roadmap, and long-term planning is like setting the destination.
I like that analogy. You need both to get where you want to go financially. And when you have that sense of direction, it can have a positive ripple effect across all areas of your life.
How so?
Well, when you feel in control of your finances, you tend to feel more confident and empowered in other areas of your life as well.
It's like taking charge of your money gives you a sense of agency and control that spills over into other aspects of your life.
Exactly. And that's what's so powerful about budgeting. It's not just about the numbers, it's about creating a life of greater freedom and abundance.
I love that.
Yeah.
So we've talked about the importance of budgeting, both practically and emotionally. We've also touched on the importance of long-term planning. But what are some other key elements of a healthy financial life? What else should our listeners be thinking about?
That's a great question. Beyond budgeting, there are 3 other pillars I think are essential: saving, investing, and managing debt.
Those are biggies for sure. Saving is all about building that financial cushion for emergencies and reaching those short-term goals.
Right. And investing is how you grow your wealth over time so you can reach those long-term goals like buying a house or retiring comfortably.
And then there's debt, the one that often feels like a scary monster lurking in the shadows.
Debt can definitely feel overwhelming, but it's important to approach it strategically. The book emphasizes the importance of prioritizing high-interest debt repayment.
So like focusing on paying off those credit cards with those sky-high interest rates before anything else?
Exactly, because those high-interest debts are costing you the most money in the long run. It's like throwing money away.
So by tackling those high-interest debts first, you're essentially freeing up more money to put towards your other financial goals.
Precisely. And you know what else can make a big difference in your overall financial well-being?
What's
protecting your assets through insurance and estate planning.
Oh yeah, those are important but often overlooked aspects of financial planning.
They are. Insurance is like a safety net. It protects you from financial hardship in case of unexpected events like an illness or an accident.
And estate planning ensures that your assets are distributed according to your wishes if something were to happen to you.
Exactly. It's about having a plan in place for yourself and your loved ones so you can have peace of mind knowing that you're protected.
Okay, so we've explored the practical strategies for budgeting, the emotional aspects of money management, and the broader context of financial well-being, including saving, investing, managing debt, and protecting your assets. What are some final thoughts you'd like to share with our listeners as we wrap up this second part of our deep dive?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway is that financial well-being is an ongoing journey, not a destination. It's about continually learning, adapting, and making conscious choices that align with your values and aspirations.
It really is a journey, and it can feel overwhelming at times. There's just so much to learn and so many decisions to make.
It can be a lot, for sure. But the good news is you don't have to figure it all out on your own.
Oh, right. There are so many resources available to help us navigate the world of personal finance.
Exactly. There are financial advisors, budgeting apps, online communities, even books like the one we're discussing today.
And don't forget about podcasts like this one. We're here to help too.
Absolutely. We're all in this together. And you know what's really important to remember?
What's that?
Personal finance is deeply personal. What works for one person might not work for another.
That's so true. We all have different incomes, expenses, goals, and values.
Exactly. So it's not about finding a one-size-fits-all solution. It's about finding what works for you.
It's about experimenting with different strategies and creating a system that aligns with your individual needs and preferences.
And being patient with yourself along the way.
Oh yeah, patience is key. Because let's face it, we're all going to make mistakes.
We're human. It's part of the learning process.
The important thing is to view those mistakes as opportunities for growth.
Exactly. Don't beat yourself up over them. Just learn from them and keep moving forward.
And celebrate those small wins along the way.
Yes. Every step forward, no matter how small, is worth celebrating.
Whether it's sticking to your budget for a month, paying off a debt, or simply gaining a deeper understanding of your financial habits.
It all adds up over time.
It really does. And that brings us to the end of our deep dive into the world of personal finance. What a journey it's been.
I've really enjoyed exploring this book with you. It's packed with so many practical tips and insightful perspectives.
It really is. And I hope our listeners feel inspired and empowered to take control of their finances and create the life they truly want.
Me too. Because remember, you have the power to create your own financial future. It all starts with making conscious choices, setting clear intentions, and taking action.
And as we wrap up this episode, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought-provoking question to ponder. Remember that emphasis on long-term planning we discussed earlier?
Oh yeah, thinking about the big picture.
Well, I want you to consider this. What's one financial goal you'd love to achieve in the next 5 years? And how could you start budgeting for it today?
That's a great question to leave our listeners with. It encourages them to take action and start taking those small, consistent steps that will lead them toward their financial dreams.
Exactly. And don't forget, we're here to support you along the way.
You can find us on Twitter and Instagram using the hashtag Financial Freedom Journey.
We'd love to hear your thoughts and insights.
Absolutely. Let's keep the conversation going.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of personal finance. We hope you feel inspired and empowered to take control of your money and create the life you truly want.
Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep striving to create a life of financial well-being and abundance.